Welcome to the show. I'm Bill Nye, and I'm here to save the world.
Hey Bill, I'm Mike the Caveman, and I'm here to show everybody why it's demonstrably false.
I am a good person, even though I think those thoughts.
No, you're really not, Bill. It's actually those thoughts that are going to get everybody in trouble.
But one thing magnets can't do is help you heal your knee. These things do not work.
I tend to agree with you, and most likely the people that are using them and experiencing benefit are getting it from both the bracing aspect and placebo effect, but keep going.
It's an alternative medical treatment, meaning it's an alternative to actual medicine. I don't make the rules, people. This is science.
You use that term very loosely, Bill. As we'll see throughout the course of this video and the rest of the episodes that you do on your show, that's not really a term you believe in too much.
Magnet therapy is just one example of an alternative medicine that doesn't work. How do we know it doesn't work? I'm so glad you asked. It's by means of the process of science. In medicine, we use double-blind experiments.
No, you don't, Bill. You don't practice medicine. You are an engineer, okay? Applied science is super important. You, sir, we're not a scientist.
That might sound tedious, because it is. It's time-consuming and meticulous, because we want to make sure a treatment really works.
Now, to be fair, your discussion on randomized, double-blind controlled trials is pretty accurate, and it's well done. So if you want to see the whole thing, go right ahead. We're just going to breeze right through that.
Here's what we do. We need to find volunteers that are willing to try a new type of treatment groups. In the case of medicine, the researchers want to make sure that the medicine doesn't just work, that it actually works better than a pill or some sort of medicine that isn't real medicine. It's just what we call a placebo. Our orange pills really work because these people are smiling and not as many people over here are smiling. And by the way, sir, if that condition persists for more than 4 hours, I'd call a doctor.
Cute Viagra joke, Bill. I mean, I guess that would have been appropriate like 20 years ago when your show was originally on.
Now, notice that some people who took the placebo felt better. That might be due to the placebo effect. When something makes you feel better, even though it's not medicine, we don't really understand it, but the placebo effect is real. And it can be used to convince people to buy alternative treatments, but alternative medicines aren't tested or regulated.
Yeah, Bill, what are we ever going to do without our big daddy, the government, watching over and making sure that we don't kill ourselves? Oh yeah, there's third-party organizations. There's also certificates of analysis and just general laboratory work.
If you take a medicine that is unregulated, you don't really know what's in it.
Yeah, Bill, what were we thinking? You're right. We should only be taking opioid painkillers and statin cholesterol drugs and benzodiazepine antidepressants and proton pump inhibitors for acid reflux. Maybe not. More on that last one in a second.
You could be doing yourself harm, and no one would be the wiser.
Yeah, you could drop dead in your bed and no one would ever know.
All sorts of things are sold as dietary supplements that aren't tested, that don't need to be tested.
Yeah, that's just a lie, period. Any reputable company is doing testing to make sure that their products are safe and efficacious. That being said, don't buy stuff from your corner bodega.
And it wouldn't matter, except billions of dollars are spent on these things by people who are just hoping that this thing will do some magical thing.
As opposed to the conventional medications we mentioned before, yeah, those have worked out so well.
It's a big deal. So you guys pay attention. The reason we have these regulations is to protect us.
That's right, Bill. We're not smart enough. We need a doctor. We need to appeal to authority like a doctor. Or Bill Nye, or, yeah, people aren't that stupid. They're not going to just start drinking cyanide. Most people.
When they tell you, doctors don't want you to know about this, or this will cure you in a weekend, it's probably not true.
Again, Bill, anybody making that claim that something's going to cure them is not to be trusted. We agree on this. That's not an accurate statement. Cure is not something that anybody that's knowledgeable in this field is ever going to say.
Here's a handy checklist to help you tune your quackometer. Does the treatment use dramatic stories? Does it claim to cure everything?
Yeah, Bill, no one should ever use a dramatic testimonial. It's not like those paid actors in the drug medication commercials are giving a story that's often dramatic. And regarding the cures, again, let's be very clear on this. Nobody who is in this field with half a brain is using the word cure. The reason why those regulations that you say don't exist Yeah, they do. And they are very stringent when it comes to medical practice. And if you start claiming that you can cure something, that's going to get you and bite you on the ass.
Does it invoke ancient wisdom or ambiguous cultural references?
Yeah, Bill, who would ever think it would be a good idea to generate hypotheses from traditional practices? No. And don't worry, I'm going to come back to you on that one in the diet episode. That's going to be fun. But for now, you actually later admit later in this episode that natural remedies are often the basis for medicines. But again, we'll come back to that.
Does it claim to be better because it's natural?
You're right, Bill. Just because something is natural does not mean that it is inherently better. However, more often than not, we've had a longer exposure to it. We have a better idea of how our bodies are going to react to it because it's something that we've actually, wait for it, experienced in nature.
Does it advertise with the phrase, what doctors don't want you to know? To practice finding these red flags, let's play along with our correspondent, Joanna Hausman, who looked into an interesting new treatment.
I'm here with David Gibson, who's teaching me how sound can heal.
Great work, Bill. You went and sent a correspondent out to find one of the craziest people on the planet. Can sound work? Yeah, probably not. That being said, why is that what you focused on? We talked about this in the beginning. What about herbs? What about massage? What about cryotherapy? What about saunas? There's so many other things you could have tried to do, and yet you didn't. Why, Bill? Where's the science?
Using alternative medicines can make some people feel better, but it's hard to tell if they work or if it's just a placebo effect. So to discuss this, we have another expert panel.
Oh boy, this is going to be fun. And if you want to see an actually awesome expert panel, be sure to stay till the end where you'll get to see my expert panel that we did after this.
I am joined by filmmaker Donald Schultz, Cara Santa Maria, a skeptic and science communicator, and Chris Beatty, professor of applied sports and exercise at the Canterbury Christ Church University, and you study the placebo effect in sports.
I do.
So in order to support your position, you pull a burnout filmmaker who is the only one who mildly supports it, a science communicator that's your friend, and what the hell is a science communicator? And from there, you bring on a professor who is an expert in the placebo effect in sports. There was no integrated professor that you could have gotten. No Mark Hymans, no Richard Lords. No, none of them were available. They didn't return the call. Is that it? Or you just didn't reach out? Maybe. Probably. Yeah.
The placebo effect fascinates me. I mean, that's how all this alternative medicine works, right? You get people who think it's going to work.
Or, in the case of herbs again, which you conveniently left out, you have biochemically active constituents, alkaloids, terpenes, tannins, saponins, different things that could have a role in getting people better. Phytonutrients that could potentially help people. But no, we're not going to cover that.
Well, just about the sound thing real quick, right? And, we sometimes throw the baby out with the bathwater. We're like, well, sound can't heal unless it's music. And I have to go against that. We actually destroy kidney stones and stones in the bladder with ultrasound.
I mean, I should be agreeing with him because he's on my side, but you had to grab him. You couldn't find anybody else. He's not entirely wrong at certain points throughout this video, but come on, Bill.
You're probably left with a net negative gain, a nocebo effect, really.
Nocebo?
A nocebo.
In terms of professor, he's actually pretty good. He is kind of tangential in terms of the topic you're covering. He's mostly an expert in placebo, and because that's the narrative you want to drive is that alternative medicine is only placebo, that's why you went and grabbed him. You didn't grab somebody that's actually an expert in rational phytotherapy. You didn't grab somebody who's an expert in massage and chiropractic. That being said, his discussion on the nocebo effect is excellent. I definitely recommend checking it out in full at normal speed at some point, but it's beyond the scope of what we're talking about here.
The nocebo effect is a negative outcome from expecting something negative to happen. So, for example, you mentioned clinical trials earlier. If people believe they're in the experimental group, they also don't just expect to get the benefit, they expect to get the side effects. So in a lot of clinical trials, you get people in the placebo group who experience a nocebo effect. They get side effects from a placebo.
Regarding the question that you originally asked, is this just a placebo effect, if there is any effect at all? Is placebo really any different than what we think of as alternative medicine? I would say absolutely, especially with the most pernicious types of alternative medicine. Homeopathy, for example. There's no...
Describe homeopathy.
So homeopathy is when you take a key ingredient that actually does something important and then you water it down, and then you water it down.
Yes, random friend of Bill Nye. We agree on this. You keep picking the ones that are on the fringe because they fall under the umbrella term of alternative medicine versus the ones that actually have clinical efficacy. I wonder why.
Things about research is the research has to be done.
And this is one of the points where he's absolutely right. I definitely agree with him. A lot of the times, the research just simply has not been done yet. We'll talk about that in our expert panel at the end as well. But for now, the crazy guy actually had a good point.
And in a lot of these, and I don't like alternative medicine because that means it's alternative to Western medicine, I think it's complementary. And one of the best examples is magic mushrooms. Now, for a long time, woo-woo, mushrooms make people high, but recently John Hopkins did 3 amazing studies.
And the crazy guy again with the good point. There has been some interesting research being done on medicinal magic mushrooms, and the results have been promising. But no, let's not talk about that.
But when we talk about alternative medicine under a big umbrella, sometimes it's a little dangerous because there are types of what we think of as alt, CAM, complementary and alternative, integrative medicine, which to me are all kind of the same thing. It's rebranding here.
Unfortunately, with alt medicine, people often say, well, that guy is obviously crazy and he's not doing anything good, therefore everyone's crazy.
Crazy guy with the good point again. I know it's weird. I did cut out a lot of his squirrely stuff. But for now, that point is 100% correct. We don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Auras. Is there anything to life auras? Let's move on to the other one, crystal therapy. Now, what about reflexology?
Auras, crystals, reflexology. Keep going for the low-hanging fruit, Bill. Keep it rolling.
Alternative medicines have a lot of problems.
Yes, Bill, because conventional pharmaceutical therapeutics have no problems at all.
But there's a big one we haven't talked about. I'll let Prashant Venkat, one of our writers on the show, explain.
Yes, Bill. Rather than bringing out an actual expert, hell, I'd settle for a conventional medical doctor at this point. But no, we're going to bring out a writer? Cool.
Now, I know what you're thinking. Indian guy might be into alt medicines and stuff.
No, not really. I kind of assumed you might know something about it because he called you out as if you were the expert. But the fact that you were Indian had no bearing on what my end thoughts are of what you were going to say were. But thanks for assuming that they were.
But I actually hate them. I especially hate how they're marketed.
Cool. I agree. The marketing on alternative medicines often is terrible. I mean, marketing on pretty much all medicines is terrible, right? We're telling people, here, take this. It's going to save your life, when in reality it probably won't, but whatever. But hey, I mean, I know we got off on the wrong foot with you assuming that I was racist, but looks like we're going to have a good time now.
This happens a lot, so I'm just going to come out and say it. White people, I love you. But stop using Asian wallpaper for street cred.
Bro, I thought we were cool. What happened to the racist ish again?
It's actually the oldest trick in the book. Half nonsense, half Indian. It's called the Deepak Chopra.
All right, I knew we were friends. That was a good one. Deepak Chopra really isn't that good.
It's not entirely your fault, white people. Which is why I want to say something to my fellow Asians. Asians, lend me your ears. Stop convincing white people it is real. This is as much on you as it is on them. You know how gullible they are. When they see Asians doing Reiki to cure cancer or South Asians marrying people based on astrology, they see truth.
Dude, I'm like picking up what you're putting down, and I'm not seeing it.
Thanks for the backup, Bill. It's about time we started agreeing that low-hanging fruit, fringe elements of the umbrella of alternative medicine are not the way to go.
And they want to copy us, and that's when it gets really dangerous. But more importantly, that's when it gets really tacky.
Seriously, tacky. Appropriation is more important than people's end health. Because if we are to believe what you are putting out there, that there is nothing to be seen here and that people are going to get hurt, that is less important than people going and taking other people's culture. Seriously? Seriously.
Look what they've done to yoga. Yoga was badass.
I'm done with you. I thought we were cool. Let's bring this to the end.
There's an old joke medical researchers tell. What do you call alternative medicine that's proven to work? You call it medicine.
You're making a straw man argument.
A lot of the effective medicine you could buy started off as a natural cure or some other form of alternative medicine. Anecdotes about how well it worked out around, piqued researchers' interest, it got subjected to lots of tests, including double-blind studies, and when this is the important part, people, and when it was found to work, it got approved. It became real medicine!
Again, Bill, you know as well as I do, or at least I'm assuming you do because you're holding yourself as the expert on the matter. Research and development is an incredibly expensive process, and the recoupance on it is not always the best. As such, natural medicines, because they are not really patentable, are pretty difficult to find people that are willing to back them to get that research done. But forget all that. Not really that important, right?
And then there is this alternative remedy that says it's for heartburn. But does it work? To help me test it, I have my friend Steve Aoki.
Seriously? Steve Aoki? Are we supposed to assume that because he's Asian, he's going to have some deep inside knowledge? Because we were supposed to assume that about your Indian friend? Really? Like, where are we going with this, Bill? I don't get it. I mean, I do know where we're going with this. The whole acid thing. And very intellectually dishonest to you, Bill. Very bad.
I feel sick in my stomach about what we're about to do.
Steve, I agree with you entirely. You're going along with Bill helping to deceive the viewing public. Props, man. Good work. I mean, the fact that you're still helping him is kind of crappy, but at least you're willing to admit that you feel sick about doing that.
Sure.
So you need an antacid. Now,
Okay.
over there, we have conventional milk and magnesia. Here we have this fancy remedy from a store. Now, what we want to do is put in some universal indicator. You may remember the expression litmus paper. Very similar. This is the modern stuff that works with acids.
Cool, Bill. So we're going back to some actual science, doing some trick science experiments. You know, the same ones that I used to do with 6-year-olds, but yeah, that's cool. Let's do that.
Now, I'll put in a lot more of this stuff so we get a nice green color. And green is neutral. That's where it's neither an acid nor a base. Remember this expression, acid and base? Well, one donates a proton and the other receives a proton. Do is make them acidic just as your stomach is. And we will use this hydrochloric acid.
Except for the fact that most people that are suffering from gastroesophageal reflux disorder are experiencing hypochloremia or insufficient amounts of stomach acid. But more on that in a second.
And they turn acid red. Scary red. So what we have, for those of you scoring along with us, when it's acidic, it's reddish. When it's neutral, it's green. And when it's basic, when it's the opposite of acid, it turns blue and it just gets crazy base. It goes all...
Good work, Bill. It's a very accurate description of how acids and bases work. I can't fault you on that one.
But I'm shaking up the fancy schmancy, very expensive per milliliter ounce fancy organic food store antacid, and you have time on it, a milk of magnesia, which has magnesium and... Dump it in there. Ooh, it's still pretty pink. There it goes.
I see what you're doing, and it's stupid.
Here is hippie juice.
Kind of ironic that the environmentalist, progressive, sex-positive person is the one using hippie as a derogatory term. I don't really see the logic, bud.
I would say I need 2 of these. 1, 2. Do you see any change? I don't see any change. 3. Should I put in 3? Wow. No, it doesn't work. Even 3 or 4 or this.
That's super weird, Bill. Why did the solution that you added there not change back to green? I wonder why. Maybe you can tell me in a second.
Because in this, you guys, this hippie stomach treatment, it has extract of elm, peppermint, and vinegar. Yeah, that's right, vinegar.
Oh, that makes sense. So you added vinegar or acetic acid, which is a mild acid, to something that's designed to test whether something's acidic or not. And you're surprised that it got more acidic? That it didn't change back to basic? Chemistry 101, Bill.
Is the vinegar. So they want you to put vinegar in your stomach when it's upset. People, no.
Bill, no. I already told you. We talked about this. Stomach acid is generally being kicked back up because of insufficient acid in the stomach. I know it's a very bit of a convoluted concept, but I will put a link in the description as well as up here to my video on stomach acid and why it's super important. You are generally experiencing insufficient stomach acid, hypochloremia, in the cases of gastroesophageal reflux disorder. Now, there are other types. However, in this case, the vinegar is going to be beneficial. The slippery elm helps act as a demulcent, and it goes and adds mucus back to the lining of the esophagus. Good thing if you're dealing with acid reflux. And the last one, peppermint. That can be a little bit swirly. Provided it's in an encoded capsule, then maybe it could be okay. There is some research indicating that in a tea form or in an essential oil form, if you're dealing with severe gastroesophageal reflux disorder, it could relax your lining too much and cause a problem. But beyond that specific case, it should not be a problem. In fact, that is going to be better for you long term than those proton pump inhibitors that just act as an antacid.
Whoa.
I know, Bill, it is somewhat shocking and somewhat paradoxical in its nature, the fact that acid reflux is generally a result of insufficient stomach acid. But the bigger issue really is the gut microbiome. Imbalances in the bacteria in the gut are going to cause acid to kick back, and those are able to overgrow because of insufficient stomach acid. If you really need more evidence, I'll put links to it in the description. In fact, I'll put links to a whole bunch of it because I know you love your science, Bill. But as promised, here is our expert panel. All right, guys? Hopefully you enjoy. And Bill, I'll see you next week. Everybody else, I'll see you tomorrow.
All right, so I had to make sure that we brought along my expert panel to be on par with Bill. So along with today, we have Kimberly Ross, who is a Director of Engineering with an equal educational equivalency to Mr. Nye.
I don't know what to do with my hands.
Next up, we have Ms. Victoria Saucedo, who is a Director of Healthcare and our expert on the delivery thereof.
Hey.
And finally, we have Dr. Rocky Feller, who is a sufferer of gastroesophageal reflux disorder and irritable bowel syndrome of the canine persuasion.
Oh my god, my stomach, it always hurts. The acid comes back until there. Oh, hello, my nose.
Now, Ms. Ross, Bill was talking a whole bunch about magnet therapy, and I would tend to agree with his conclusions on it, that it is not necessarily the most efficacious. However, he made a point of saying that hemoglobin is not magnetic, and he did an experiment where he pricked his finger, and he put the magnet next to the blood and tried to say that because the blood isn't moving around, blood isn't magnetic. Could you please explain a little bit about magnetism and hemoglobin?
Oxygenated hemoglobin is diamagnetic, which is not magnetic, and deoxygenated hemoglobin is paramagnetic, which is slightly magnetic.
So basically what you're saying then is that blood that's going from the heart through the arteries down to the muscles and elsewhere versus blood that's coming back from the muscles. So if it's going down through the arteries, it's going to be oxygenated. If it's coming back on venous return, it's going to be deoxygenated. Meaning that if it was deoxygenated, if it's coming back, it could be slightly magnetic?
Yes, that is accurate.
Okay. Awesome, thank you, Kim. Now, clearly the magnets that are being used in magnet therapy aren't going to be super strong, they're not going to be the best magnets. They probably aren't going to do too much, honestly, but the possibility is still there, and as Bill likes to say over and over, the research still needs to be done. As such, what's going to bring us to Ms. Saucedo. Now, Ms. Saucedo, the problem, oftentimes, with natural medicine is that there isn't really much of financial recuperation on that, right? The fact of the matter is that the research that's being done on pharmaceutical companies, they expect to get paid back on that. And natural medicines, as it stands right now, they're not as easily patentable. So insurance companies are less likely to recoup that. Is that accurate?
Essentially, yes, Mike. Yes, you are absolutely correct, Mr. Caveman. When you come down to it, companies are out to make their money, and when it comes down to it, you don't get a big return on preventative care. You don't get a big return on wellness. We're not focusing on what we should be. So, I mean, at the end of the day, you say, what the duck? Like, why aren't you focusing on the preventative medicine? If you're focusing on that before it gets to a point of seriousness or chronic disease, then it's like, okay, well, there's no return there. There's no return on health. There's no return on good health. What the duck?
Right.
But see, also at the same time, insurance companies, they have an allowable rate. Now these rates, depending on the programs, Mike, whether it's Medicaid, Medicare, or private coverage, whatever it may be, there's allowable rates. Now these rates are set because, essentially, physicians have high rates that they bill. So there's an allowable amount, there's a billable amount, and then...
Oh, my acid reflux.
Dr. Rockefeller, a lot of pain. I know, I can see it. I can hear it too, I can smell it. But the thing about it is, we need to start focusing on the alternative medicine. We need to bring it back to the roots, to the preventative care. And, yeah, I know. Where's the acupuncture? Where's the chiropractor? Where's the cupping? Not this cupping. Where's the cupping? Where's it at?
I completely agree.
Excellent points that Miss Salcedo. The fact of the matter is, though, that Bill didn't really focus anything. The most important one was herbology, that there are a lot of herbs that have tremendous clinical efficacy, whether it be turmeric or cannabidiol or ginger. Research is there for it. Now, Dr. Rockefeller, the fact of the matter is I know you're not feeling too well, but perhaps you can help us out a little bit. You can tell us a little bit what you have going on.
The doctors, they put me on the proton pump inhibitors, and every time I take them, it keeps getting worse. My gastrointestinal doesn't go anywhere. But I take the apple cider vinegar, and it's okay. There's no problem. It's good.
Extra Pal, I truly appreciate your stopping by today. You guys all helped me out for this takedown, but I think that's enough. Dr. Rockefeller, feel better, bud. Go get some apple cider vinegar.